Now, this is my favorite part because all of us who are listening to this live or on this live, or most of us, I would say, are probably individuals who are working with clients. And our job is to help someone get from where they're at to whatever goal it is that we are saying that we're going to help them get to. Fair? And so if that is true, how do we help our clients delete optional behavior? Think about this. This is magic in your business. If you're a credit professional and you are signing people up and they're not doing the things that they say they want to do so they can go buy the house that they want to buy, and you're wondering why they're not doing it, maybe they've had optional behavior around their I want to do this goal. And so what would make you very powerful person is to help your client delete optional behaviors as well. So I want to give you 5 tips on how you can take these same things and help your clients delete that optional behavior. Deleting optional behavior in my own life was really important, right? But I think it really, really matters when you're helping your clients also do the same thing, right? And if you see that you can do it in your own life and you can copy and paste and give that gift to your clients, it's a gift that most people don't have. They don't understand how to delete optional behavior. So it's something that you can give them a gift. Because if we're being fair, credit improvement is easy, right? So credit improvement is easy. So when things aren't easy, then, and if we haven't deleted optional behavior, it's very easy for them to say, this isn't working for me. I think I'm done with this, right? So we got to consider that. People don't fail because they don't care. They fail because the process feels confusing or overwhelming. Okay. They fail because they haven't committed. They fail because they have optional behavior around this. So I want to help you today, help your clients delete optional behavior in their lives as well. So I'm going to give you 5 tips, just like I gave you 5 tips for your personal life for your clients. So here is tip number 1. Again, decide once, not over and over. Clients tend to redecide the same things every single month, right? You update them, hey, I got this done, your credit score is this, and then they're redeciding whether or not they're going to continue to work with you, or they're redeciding if they're going to do something that they need to do. So the first thing I do is help them decide once what matters most for their goal. So what I do in this section with my clients is I'm really intentional about this is I want to know what their goal is, right? So that's important because if I say I'm going to help you get from where you're at to where you want to go, I need to know where you want to go. So that's a given. So I need to know the goal, but I need to know it deeper than just I want to buy a house, for instance. I want to know, why do you want to buy a house, right? And I've given this example many times, so you guys probably remember this, but the client who said, I want to buy a home because I don't feel like a man. I don't feel like I'm a great father. I don't feel like I'm a great spouse. I don't feel like I'm a good provider. The list went on. He was very distraught about this. But buying a home for his family to live in signified, I'm a good man. I'm a good father. I'm a good husband. I'm a provider, right? So that was actually the big why. It actually wasn't the house. Probably if I were to sit down with him longer, I would discover that the house meant nothing to him personally, in terms of he could care less having the house. The meaning behind the house was what he felt like other people felt about him by having that house, if that makes sense. So really digging deep into what their big why is will help them decide once and not over and over again. And so I'll help you even with that on some of the things that you can do. That clarity of them knowing their big why removes optional behavior almost immediately, right? Almost immediately. For me, 90 days of not drinking alcohol. Couple reasons why. I wanted to lose weight. I knew I wasn't making healthy decisions. I was getting into bad habits. I wanted to remove the bad habits. But my big why was preparing for my wedding day, or in my case, anniversary day. That was my big why. And then I could dive in deeper of why I was so passionate about that, right? And so because of that, I knew why this was my goal, and it would make it a lot easier for me to decide once and not have to decide over and over and negotiate with myself. All right, step 2, or tip number 2, is put the monthly review on your calendar. So I schedule a monthly review with every single one of my clients. Okay. And I've heard many people that I've coached say, well, I do it every 40 days or I do it every 45 days. No, you need to do it every 30 days because we have a 30-day calendar. Okay. In that 30-day review, a couple very important things. And I do this with Loom, so I don't actually make a phone call to my consumers. And those of you who know me know that I do everything in video. But I would make a Loom video and show the clients their credit action plan. Okay, here's what we committed to. This is the goal. These are the things that need to happen in order to reach that goal. So we're really clear on that. But in that monthly review, I'm reminding them of their big why. Hey, so and so, I know how important this is to you. I know that buying this house signifies that you're the supporter of your family, and it's so important to you that you have that. So I want to remind you, as we're working towards these next steps this month, that that's the real goal that we're working towards. So here's your action plan. Here are the 10 things that you need to do. Feel free to do as many as you possibly can, but here's the 2 things. Here are the 2 things that I want you to do this month. So I remind them of their big why. I review what worked and what didn't, and I provide clear actions for the next 30 days. This helps keep them from having optional behavior. I've given them exactly what they need to do. And I'll give you an example and perspective of me as a business coach. So I have tested this. So let me tell you how I've tested this many times to see how it works on several different people. So I've had people come to me as a business coach and they want me, let's say, I'll give you an example. They want to start their own first business. And so they come to me, 2 different scenarios. First person, I say, okay, great. Why don't you go and research how to start your company, what's needed, if you need any, what you want to do, what's your passions, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you just go research all that, right? Client number 2 comes in, same person, but this time I'm giving a different response. Okay, so what I want you to do between this time and next time that we talk is I want you to decide on a business name, but I want you to do a lot of research on this. I want you to decide, look at what your passions are, what name really reflects you, what name can actually be an asset for you rather than a job. And what I mean by that is, like, you're not going to name the company after yourself because it's really hard to sell it down the line, right? And so how do you make a name for your company that will resonate for years to come? That's not foo-foo and things like that. Then I want you to go to the, Secretary of State for your state and make sure that that name is not being used. I want you to go on to like GoDaddy or someplace for domains. I want you to make sure that name has a .com that's not being used. .com is really important. If you want more answers about why I say .com, let me know. You don't have to have a .com. I have a .ai, but I'll tell you why it's really important to make sure the domain of the .com is not taken. So do that research, and then next time we come together, we'll know exactly what your business name is. We can go ahead and get that done. Those 2 people, go back to them in 30 days to see how they're doing, or a week, or whatever we schedule. The person I gave the very vague instructions to didn't do anything. The person I gave very specific tasks to do did the things. That's really impressive. So again, on your monthly review, you want to make sure that you remind them of their big goal, what worked, what didn't work, and clear next steps. Super, super important. Okay, that brings me to tip number 3, which I kind of already segued into, is I remove vague instructions. Clients don't struggle because they're lazy. They struggle because instructions are vague. So like in the scenario of me helping the same person giving 2 different instructions, the one that was just kind of vague, hey, go out and research, kind of figure out what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. They came back and they didn't even research. They literally didn't even research. Almost 100% of the time. They didn't research anything. They might have like fluffed something to me like, oh, I kind of was looking at different names and I just couldn't land on one. Or, I was kind of researching a little bit on, and you can hear the words because I say kind of researching a little bit, right? But when I gave very specific instructions for them to do, and I usually only like to give 1 or 2, when I do that, come back and the things are done. Those clear instructions really help alleviate that optional behavior. So it was optional when I gave vague instructions, go research this, because how do I quantify that they researched it, right? I didn't give any like metrics that we're going to check back when we come back together. But when I said, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this for the name, they're going to come back with the name and having done the research on the name. So it's really, really important that you're giving very clear actions for your clients. So when we look at, LevelUp Score, for instance, as a credit professional, right? If we look at tip number 1, decide once and not over and over again, we're talking about finding out what the big why is. It's really important as a credit or financial professional, is you need to know what the big why is. And then when we looked at step 2 or tip 2, it's put that monthly review on the calendar. You're now making structure for them, right? You're putting that commitment on the calendar. They expect that you guys are going to have some kind of communication, however you're doing that every 30 days. They expect that you're checking in on them because you also, tip number 3, gave very clear, specific instructions. And of course, LevelUp Score says, here's all the things that you need to do as a consumer. You're helping them pick the 2 most valuable things for them to do and setting them on that way. So the next 30 days, they at the very least do those 2 things, right? I usually pick a harder one and an easy one. So you make up how you want to do it, but that's how I do it. But very clear instructions. Tip number 4, where am I at? No, all my notes are all messed up. Okay, tip number 4 is I replace willpower with structure. So credit improvement is an emotional process, right? So one day they're really excited, just like January 2026, New Year's Day, everyone's really excited about the new year. I'm going to do things so much better in the new year. And then a couple days later, like some bad news happened, and now the whole 2026 idea of having a great year is over until you get some other kind of motivation to do it again. But credit improvement is emotional. So if I'm working with someone and their credit score goes up, they're happy, they want to continue, right? If their credit score goes down, now we're in an emotional place where it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. So we are creating, in that instance, if we're going by emotion and we're not addressing emotion, we're creating this idea of, if it's not going well, then we shouldn't do it anymore. So an optional behavior, right? So we're trying to delete the optional behavior. So we're going to replace willpower with structure. We're going to say, okay, this is your goal. Here's the big why. Here's the things we need to do. Here's the action plan. We're going to go down this list. I'm going to give you 2 things each month that we're going to hone in on. You can do as many as you want, but these 2 things we have to have done for the next 30 days. In 30 days, we're going to check that. We're going to see the results of that, and we're going to have another 30 days. The faster that we can get through that, the faster you get to your goal, right? But creating that structure, letting them know what to expect in the journey that they're working with you, is going to help delete that optional behavior with them. It's not optional. In 30 days, I'm going to give you 2 things, and those 2 things, and when we review in 30 days, are going to be completed. If you struggle in any way, shape, or form with completing those 2 days, 2 things, it's really important that you contact me so we can help each other through that, right? It's because you're the accountability, you're the support. If you do it right, you're not only helping delete optional behavior for them, you are also empowering them in their own lives to do the hard things that'll help them throughout their entire life. They're going to come back to this structure that you've created, this process, this helping them delete optional behavior, as a standard in their life. Just like I did in 2025 when I made this deleting optional behavior thing for me, quitting drinking alcohol, right? Committing to the runs. When I deleted the optional behavior around those 2 goals, I succeeded in those 2 goals, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. But what did that do? When 2026 started rolling around, I'm like, oh, wait, I did it. I didn't have to push myself with consistency. I didn't have to push myself with willpower. I didn't have to say, depend on my discipline. I did it because I deleted optional behavior. And so I looked, I'm like, wow, that was easy. So what else can I apply that to my life? And that's what your clients will do too, especially if you kind of verbally state that you've done the hard work. Think about, now that you've done the hard work on credit improvement, what other hard work have you been avoiding that you can now do, right? And so structure keeps your clients grounded when motivation fails. Tip number 5, I lead with accountability, encouragement, and the big why. So again, during those monthly reviews, I remind them of the why that they started with, the big why, the big why. Why did they want to do this? Not, I want to buy a house. Why? What's underneath that, right? I was coaching someone the other day and they asked me, well, how do you find that big why, Allie? And I said, you keep asking why questions. You keep asking, tell me more about that. Tell me how that makes you feel. Tell me how that, blah, blah, blah. Tell me more. Why? And you'll get to that root why. And sometimes with some clients, you don't even have to ask it, but one time they'll say, I want to buy a house because bump, 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 bump. Take note, that's their big why, right? The single mom who says, hey, I want to buy my first house because the home that we're living in right now is not safe for my family. I want a safe place for my kids. I want the white picket fence house, right? That's the big why. So now when I have conversations on those hard times, when things aren't real easy, like we got to pay down a credit card, we got to pay off a collection, whatever that might be, when it's not easy, and they come to me and they're struggling, I can say, hey, so-and-so, remember the big why. You don't want your kids to live in that home anymore. It's not safe for them. You want to provide them with a safe place, a white picket fence where you feel like, hey, they can go outside and they can run and have fun. And you build up on that emotion of that big why for them. That's going to help them delete that optional behavior and keep to this goal with you. And let's be fair. It's not just the benefit of the client getting to their goal, it's the benefit of you too. If a client gets to their goal, guess what they do? They go tell everybody about you, right? Hey, Alicia, I worked with Alicia. I told her I'm here and I want to be here, and she helped me get there. And they're going to tell everybody. And then you don't have to worry about doing any paid marketing. I don't do paid marketing. You don't have to do any of this stuff because you have built such a great system of helping people get from where they are to where they want to go that it is obvious in the world, right? People are talking about you and they're flooding you with more people. And so I think that's another important process when we think about how do we help our clients, we're actually helping ourselves along the way as well. Congratulating them on their effort, especially using words like, look at all the hard work you did. Look at all the effort you put into it. If you like to downgrade what has happened to this was easy, or you want to say that you did everything for them, like, oh, look, I got all these deleted and your credit score went up. You're taking that empowerment away from them. Thus, they're not going to do the things that are hard when it's time to do the things that are hard. But if you can constantly congratulate them on every effort they do and say, hey, you got a big why. And I know it's not going to be easy, but you're doing the hard work right now. You're doing the hard work. Guess what happens to them when something's really hard? Maybe they're in this process, they're working with you, everything's going hunky-dory, everything's pretty easy. You've been congratulating them on their hard work and their effort all this time. And then all of a sudden their car breaks down and now they feel like they're starting from zero again and they have to start over, right? They're going to be able to adjust to that because you are ingraining in them that they know how to do hard work. And it's actually going to motivate them to do the hard work. They've done studies on growth mindset, right? So a fixed mindset would say, you would be pouring in, congratulating them how smart they are, like this was easy, blah, blah, blah. When you do that on a fixed mindset, then if something hard presents itself, they'll run away from the hard thing because they only want to be looked at as I can do the thing. But in a growth mindset, when we fill them up with, hey, you put a lot of effort in this is hard work, it automatically lifts them up to want to do more hard work, right? And so I encourage you to congratulate them on their effort, their progress, their hard work. People stay committed because they feel supported. And that's the real key. You need to be transparent. You need to be there. You need to be present in their experience. You need to be a part of their journey. And this will help to delete that optional behavior. So the idea is here's their goal and here's where they're at and here's their goal. And you're going to help close that gap, get them there as fast as possible. So it's really important that you help them delete optional behavior. It's going to make them stickier. They're going to stay in the process longer. They're actually going to get to their goal. When people actually get to their goal, referrals are like crazy. People are always going to come to you. You're going to be seen as the real deal because you helped them delete their own optional behavior, not because you did it all. Because quite frankly, you can't do it all, but you help them delete their optional behaviors. Start with yourself first. Get real good at that. See that positive outcome of you making those commitments, deleting optional behavior, and then help your clients do the same thing. I didn't make this year better by adding more. I made it better by deleting what was optional. So if this hit you hard, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I needed this, type in the comments, delete, because that's what we need to do. We need to delete those optional behaviors. Structure creates consistency. Consistency creates the results. I just wonder, is there something in your life right now that you're allowing that you shouldn't allow anymore? Think about that for a second. What is something that you're allowing this optional behavior to control this, and it shouldn't be optional anymore? It should be a commitment that you make for yourself. If you find that LevelUp Score might help you help your clients delete optional behavior, I would love to invite you to a LevelUp Score demo. You can see us at levelupscore.com, and from there, you'll sign up for your free demo account. You'll get a credit so you can run a client through, and you'll get to have a conversation with me. In that conversation, I'll show you exactly what LevelUp Score does, how it benefits you and your clients, and then also you will get to be able to get on my calendar to do a setup call with me. How do we set this up? How do we use it in a strategy call? And how do we make more money? You get all that from being on that demo call. So I'm really excited for you guys to take me up on that offer. Go ahead and go to levelupscore.com, click sign up, and I'll see you at the next demo.